Hello again, and thanks very much for joining us. I'm Michael Nath. We begin business now from Russia, looking at the impact of the ongoing crisis on the state of the economy and business activities across the globe. Average U.S. price of regular grade gasoline shot up a whopping 79% over the past 2 weeks to a record-setting 4.43 per dollar as Russia's invasion of Ukraine is contributing to already high prices at the pump. Industry analysts attribute Lundberg of the Lundberg survey said the new price exceeds by 32 cents the prior all-time high of $4.11 set in July 2008. But that's still quite away from the inflation-adjusted record high of about $5.24 per gallon. Now, the price of the pump is 1.54 higher than it was a year ago. Lundberg said gas prices are likely to remain high in the short term as crude oil costs soar amid global supply concerns following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, Italian paper mills that make everything from pizza boxes to furniture packaging are ground to a halt as Russia's war in Ukraine has sent natural gas prices skyrocketing. According to reports, Italian steel mills likewise turned off electric furnaces last week, and fishermen are facing huge spikes in oil prices, stayed in port, mending nets instead of cashing them. Now we're more than Italy, the European Union's third largest economy, is dependent on Russia energy taking a higher toll on industry. Some 40% of electricity is generated from natural gas that largely comes from Russia, compared with roughly 1/4 in Germany, another major importer on the continent's largest economy. Now, experts say a global food crisis looms unless the war in Ukraine is stopped. Fertilizer prices are soaring so fast that many farmers can no longer afford soil nutrients. Russia's coal and fertilizer king, Andrei Melnychenko, made that submission on Monday. Several of Russia's richest businessmen have publicly called for peace since President Vladimir Putin ordered the invasion on February the 24th, including Mikhail Friedman, Peter Venn, and Oleg Deripaska. The United States and its European allies have cast Putin's invasion as an imperial-style land grabbing that has so far been poorly executed because Moscow underestimated Ukrainian resistance and Western resolve to punish Russia. The West has sanctioned Russian businessmen, including European Union sanctions on Melnychenko, frozen state assets, and cut off much of the Russian corporate sector from the global economy in an attempt to force Putin to change course. Now, the federal government at the weekend unveiled a new security arrangement for the nation's free trade zones in line with international best practices to guard investors and guarantee investors' confidence in the special economic zone. The government has also extended the validity period of the licenses of operators in free trade zones from 1 to 5 years. Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment Otumba Ni Adebayo made this known during the inauguration of the new Nigeria Export Processing Zones Authority, Lagos office, and the unveiling of the Special Economic Zone Security Unit at the weekend in Lagos. He said the country has realized over $20 billion in cumulative investments in 30 years of the free zone scheme. Adebayo said given the fiscal incentives associated with free zones, the scheme remained a veritable source of development. Now, the federal government is still in negotiation with the organized labor as regards the removal of subsidy on petroleum motor spirit, premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol. Officials of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority said the removal of the subsidy on petrol had been an explosive issue. The spokesperson of the NMDPRA, Kimchi Apollo, confirmed that the government is still in negotiations with the organized labor on the matter. This, they said, had made the government engage in negotiations with the organized labor on the matter, despite the persistent rise in amount being spent on subsidy amidst the recent increase in global crude oil prices. This is as the World Bank projected that Nigeria would spend about 4 trillion naira on petrol subsidy in 2022, as oil marketers also said that the amount could rise to 6 trillion naira, going by the rise in the price of crude oil. The government has been in negotiations with the organized labor on the removal of petrol subsidy for over a year, as Labour had demanded that Nigeria's refineries should be fixed before subsidy would be removed, among other demands. Now, following predictions that oil could hit $150 per barrel if the West sanctions Russia's energy exports, an expert has opined that building modular refineries is the way to go if Nigeria is to reap the benefits of the oil price surge. A popular policy analyst, Ario Oladende, said this earlier on iBrandTV's Business Breakfast show.
It is the crude that they bought at high price that they will process and sell the byproducts to us at higher price. In Germany yesterday, petrol that used to be €1 was being sold for 2.8 euros. Quietly now, government must be subsidizing petrol at about 400 naira per litre. Now that the extra profit that we will have made has been wiped off by the fact that the buyers of crude oil are paying more. That means they will sell to us at a higher price too. We cannot suddenly jumpstart, a refinery now. And that's why I said we're not going to be cashing out on anything. I will not be sitting down here and deceive the listening public. The technology behind those old refineries are obsolete. The best that can happen is for experts to go in there, do a kind of review. Anyone that they think can still be adapted to meet modern working systems, they do that. Otherwise, the entire thing should be scrapped. The only option we have is modular, because they don't take so much time. Some of them in 90 days, they're established and then they're running.
The Nigerian Downstream and Midstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, formerly known as the Department of Petroleum Resources, has denied withdrawing about $1.2 billion from the Federation account in 2019. The NDMPRA asked the House of Representatives Committee on Public Accounts to demand an explanation from the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited on the withdrawal of it, as it was difficult to recover the amount from the oil company. The NDMPRA said this in its response to a query issued by the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation, which asked the authority to recover the fund from the NNPC or be sanctioned. The office, in its annual report on the federal government of Nigeria's consolidated financial statements of the year ended December 31, 2019, submitted to the National Assembly on August 18, 2019, reported the deduction of $1.2 billion by the NNPC from oil and gas royalty assessed by the defunct DPR. Now, bakers under the aegis of Premium Bread Makers Association of Nigeria are mulling a total shutdown of operations following steady and fast increases in the price of diesel in the past few days. The association said the continued rise in the price of diesel had made the price of the commodity to be doubled, warning that a total shutdown of operations by brick makers was imminent. The PBAN President Emmanuel Onora made the declaration on Monday. He explained that the diesel price hikes were taking a serious toll on bread production for its members. As a result, he called on the federal government to urgently accelerate efforts towards tackling the problem to avoid a shutdown of operations by its members.